The mental health of this nation has gotten so bad that we are at a record high of 400 plus mass shootings just in 2023 alone. Now, of course, mass shootings aren't always like a giant number of people. It is an event in which one or more individuals are actively engaged. It doesn't have to be like 10 people, one or more. It could just be like 2 or 3 victims. It's still not good. 400, like the record high of last year, 2022, I think was like 273. One source says that's the record high. It's outpacing. It's insane to think that there's more mass shootings in 2023 than there have been fucking days so far. And I think that most of the reason why this happens is because people don't have sophistication. They're not intelligent. I think that people will resort to violence nowadays because we have gone backwards in time. And the violence is the quickest way to win an argument. Like, I just uploaded a video about winning the argument. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you can win the argument anymore. Like, if I go out and I argue with everybody, like how I enjoy doing, if I go out and argue with everybody, I'm immediately going to find someone that's going to want to escalate it to violence. Like, that's just something that's going to happen. And if you look at YouTube, you look at how people dislike things so quickly. Like, I did have a recent issue, like when I was talking about my ex-wife in the To Be Better podcast, where some of the people who would go into the comments would cause problems, and we talked through that obviously very easily. It's not a big deal. I want to point this out and say, you're all fucking crazy. I say that the fact that people escalate things to fights so often that there have been more school shootings than days in 2023, it's insane. So I do say that the mental health of the United States is extremely concerning. And I personally like to blame that on the economy and how unaffordable to be alive is. So people look at their lives and they go, oh my God, there's no point in living. And they fucking throw their life away. It's so unbelievably unaffordable to be alive. I mean, and like how I made my video talking about the minimum wage. Yes, I believe the minimum wage should be close to like 23 or 20 fucking $8 an hour, because it's ridiculous how unaffordable to be alive is. I'm a single income household. I've done plenty skilled labor in the past. I have made a decent amount of money, and it's still an unbelievable struggle to even with the amount of effort that I have. But I don't even care if I have skilled labor. I still believe that the burger flipper should be able to make enough on a single income to support an entire household. I think that's realistic and possible. I think that the argument that, oh, everyone will just raise their prices is bullshit, because that is something we are supposed to keep in line. Now, I'm not going to sit here and condone violence, but back in the day when police weren't militarized, okay, and I'm not exactly saying we should demilitarize police, but maybe I am. So look at back in the day when police weren't a fucking military, we would go to business owners' homes, to the business, and we would literally just burn a business to the ground. And that's how we kept them in line. That's how we stopped them from raising their prices. We kept them scared. They were afraid of us at one point, and now they are not, because the media and the militarized police have all worked against us. We are now all effectively economic slaves. And that's the problem, is that they have spent generations and generations poisoning our minds to believe that the minimum wage was for teenagers, when it clearly is not. It is clearly something that was made in the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 as a standard of living, and immediately after that, the Great Depression ended, and then after that, we hit a baby boom for like almost 20-something years. And the economy did literally nothing after that but get better. And since then, we have done nothing but go downhill and go backwards, because our government has absolutely no choice. They put, this is going to sound bad as well, they put African Americans into the projects back in the day, you know, with segregation and everything, and they shoved drugs in weapons into those communities, into those homes, because they made that the only affordable way to leave. So they fucking made these shitty homes in these shitty neighborhoods, and they forced all these terrible things in there to criminalize them, to criminalize those people yet again, to put African Americans into the prison industrial system, because back then that was pretty much modern day slavery. It was to just throw people in prison for drugs and for crimes like that. Nowadays, we are so woke and beyond that, and we know that marijuana isn't bad for you. It's stupid to put people in prisons because of that. We know what they did to African Americans. We know what they did to minorities in general. We know what they're doing to minorities, like, still nowadays, in how they're always trying to pin us against each other, how they're always trying to make us fight one another, when in reality it's us against the government. Now they're trying to make the entire country the projects. They're making absolutely everything completely unaffordable, and they're trying to shove us into an economic box. And it's wild, and I understand why people's mental states have been so like literally. I was just watching a video about the movie The Crazies, and I just kept thinking to myself, like, I understand that's like a biological, like, there's a pathogen in the movie that's making people literally crazy and turning them into some kind of weird infected individual. But I mean, we have been infected in our minds for so long by all of this separation and all this splitting in our minds, and oh, it's this party against this party, you know, it's the Dragon Ball Z fans versus the One Piece fans, or the Bleach fans versus the whatever. We are constantly subdivided. Like, if you know anything about music theory, that there's a subdivision of notes, and we are constantly subdivided on an infinite level. For example, let's take the theory on Gabriel's cake. Gabriel's cake was a theoretical cake where if you cut the cake in half, what happens to it? The volume remains the same, but the surface area increases, because now you have two more sides. If you split those halves, you have two new sides. So the concept is to continuously split the cake in half infinitely, creating an infinite amount of surface area. It is an infinite amount of separation between us with a finite amount of volume. It's just a good analogy for that. But they're constantly trying to separate us on a smaller and smaller and smaller scale. And you look at, like, the modern media, and like that clip that Joe Rogan put out with Howie Mandel, showing all the local news, like fucking hundreds of local news, all saying the exact same thing. It's so wild. It's pretty fucking insane. But I think that the mental health of the nation is of the utmost importance. Like, you have to look at your neighbors and treat your neighbors with respect, no matter who they are, no matter even if they're bad people. Do your best to treat bad people with respect, because there's a reason why they're bad. As bad as they can be, they still deserve to be saved. And that's like I don't always agree with that. Sometimes I really want to dive down into that, like, fuck humans thing. But I always want to try to make sure that it's okay for the people that are around me. Like, I'm a pretty apathetic person for strangers, but looking at the rate that the world has been going in, the direction that we have been heading in, it is so unbelievably concerning to me about what has, like, been happening. And I'm not just talking about, like, a global scale. I'm very skeptical. I'm very skeptical when it comes to the validity of news sources. Most news is pretty much false news, but to see statistics rising of, like, shootings and things like that, even if the statistics are somehow false, which I'm not going to assume that they are, I will assume that most statistics on that are accurate, or at least they try to be. And it's weird, because to see a lot of local news, and to see a lot of how people react on social media and just in general, and being this try to be this aware, it's so bad, because I just see how angry people are in comments. I see how angry people are on social media in general, and it's news sources and media are only going to become less and less valid with AI. Like, literally, you ever see that fucking AI post about, oh, Will Smith is going to be playing Hitler in a movie, and it's just AI Will Smith Hitler? It's like, bro, like, that was misinformation that was just spread around, and it's like, can you fucking believe that people believe that? And it's like, why would you believe that? Maybe you need to just relax, chill, smoke a blunt, Stop freaking out. Not everything has to be a panic. Not everything has to be worried. Like I am worried because of this like outside perspective that I'm trying to give from like seeing all these things and knowing how the economy actually is. Like obviously, yeah, the economy is garbage. Our parents and our grandparents were buying houses for like $30,000, and now they're like fucking 400,000 to a million for a decent home. And it's like, but I have the same income. Like my parents made like what 30K a year, and now I make what 40K a year. Like that's garbage. Like that's nothing. Like how am I supposed to be able to afford a house? It's not gonna. It's so very difficult. Like you're like economically, they don't want you to be able to succeed, especially in this generation. They want it to be generation versus generation. They don't want Gen Z and millennials to get along. They don't want Gen Z and boomers to get along. They don't want millennials and boomers to get along. They don't want anybody to get along, bro. Like, and that's the problem, is that they just don't want us to get along at all. They don't want white people and black people to get along. They don't want black people and Mexicans to get along. They don't want people to get along. It's fucking sad. You see senators and House representatives fucking sitting in Congress doing TikTok dances celebrating their financial success, like as them, like their success. It's like, dude, your country's on fire and you're doing TikTok dances in like. There was another senator who was talking about how, like, when the cameras are on, they're all, like, fucking passionate about this and that, but then when the cameras are off, they don't fucking care. It's so wild to think that they're just pretending, or they have, like, personas, like politics. It's, like, celebrity shit. It's so weird. Smaug is a fucking dragon. He's, like, the second most wealthy fictional fucking character. They don't care if you die or not. You are a resource to them. You are a resource that is generating revenue. You are a source of income for the government. You are paying your taxes, which we literally fought against. And I don't even know why the fuck we're paying so many taxes. We have an $800 billion goddamn military budget to do fucking nothing with it, because all of my military friends always complain about how they're always training with old ordnance shit from like forever ago, and it's like, so then what the fuck are we spending the money on? Hey, I don't know. It's not my job. I'm not there doing all of the nitty gritty details. But, I mean, there's a lot of bullshit seeping through those cracks into our public lives. And just to sit here and look at how completely unaffordable it is to be alive is extremely concerning, and how little they give a shit, and how they poisoned the majority of our people to believe it's because you're not skilled. You're not skilled, so you don't deserve to live. Go fucking learn how to put an engine in, dumbass. I'm kidding. I do advocate for the Walmart worker. I do advocate for the McDonald's employee. You are doing a service. You are giving people food. You're literally cooking. You are serving. You are remaining cleanly. You are watching out, using proper PPE. You are maintaining a professional environment, managing businesses, registering people. You're doing all kinds of work like hotel management. Every single one of you, every person out there right now who is busting your ass every day, you are doing a good job. I am proud of all of you. I hope that you continue to find a reason to move on in life, even though that maybe sometimes life feels like it is crumbling around you and falling down on top of you. You matter to me, and I hope that you matter to yourself. I think that it's important for you to matter to yourself. But I just wanted to say I'm very proud of all of you for sticking with your jobs and trying to get better jobs and just trying to improve your lives in general. And I think that you guys all deserve to get paid more exponentially. And it's kind of sad to say, but like looking at it logically, the only way to take that from them is to physically take that from them, is to go take that money from them. Those multi-trillionaires or hundreds of billionaires, it's insane how much money they have They have more money than Smog, but he's only like the 15th wealthiest American. Like, he literally sleeps in a giant pile of gold under a mountain, and he still isn't the wealthy. It would not be the wealthiest person. The top 15 wealthiest people in the United States have more fucking money than a dragon that sleeps under an enormous mountain of gold. Come on. Be honest with yourself. Sit there and lie to me and say that they deserve it. Sit there and fucking lie to me and say that they deserve it while your neighbors are struggling, while they are literally starving and dying. Sit there and look at me and act like the suffering is supposed to make them better, which, yes, suffering does. Hard times make strong men. Strong men make peaceful times. Peaceful times make weak men. Now, I don't exactly agree with that entirely, but as like a general statement, it's fairly true. Go ahead and tell me that they deserve to suffer because it would make them stronger, even though you know full well knowing that they shouldn't fucking have to. Instead, we could all be strong for them, and we can all literally make the world a better place if we decided to.
Complete.